Hello, this is the Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour, and I'm your host, Matthew Hawkins. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ed Carbajal. After a crazy New Year's Eve weekend, Ed, how you doing, man?
I'm all right. I'm still dragging ass a little bit from everything, but we had a 30-degree temperature drop between New Year's Day and the day after. So I'm hanging in there though. I'm almost back to normal.
Well, it was chilly for you, but there was a lot of hot MMA action, um, which kicked off Saturday with the event that we were surprised to have moved from Las Vegas to my backyard here in Southern California, UFC 232. Did you get a chance to catch those fights?
I sure did. I watched every single one except when I was moving from my apartment to the bar. So which was I think that was the that fight in transition was the what's his face? What's his face? Bent face Arlovsky versus who the hell was that fight? I don't even
Oh,
know who won that fight because like I
yeah.
said, I was getting to the place to watch a pay per view, but I saw him. Yeah, it was a good card. I was happy with it. I mean, you were there, so you were obviously more happier, or more happy. But I didn't really I don't know, man. I don't know how to feel about that. I feel like people like you contribute to the poor decisions the UFC is making. But I can't blame you for going because I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean the event sold out. I mean every seat sold
Yeah.
out. It was fun. It was a good atmosphere. Um, we've said it before. I feel sorry for the fans that got screwed in
People like
Vegas.
you.
Yeah, well, I mean, people like me are the reason why the sport exists, and it's
Yeah.
even today in general. So, um, spending money going to the shows and supporting it for years and years. But that's neither here nor there. But when we get to the fights, a couple things that stood out for me on the prelims. Curtis Millender, um, dude's a stud. Uh, got a big decision win on the prelims. I think that moved him to 3-0 in the UFC. He's got wins over this was over Sair Bahadazada, and he has wins over Thiago Alves, as well as another win that I can't recall exactly who he defeated. But I mean, he's an exciting fighter. He was able to avoid his weakness, which is the ground game. But I mean, he's a pretty spectacular striker. A lot of kicks and a lot of spinning stuff. So there was that. Uriah Hall comeback knockout win in a fight he was really getting worked by Bevon Lewis.
That was
Um,
in the prelims, the early prelims, right?
yeah, these are the fight past prelims. The fight past prelims were exciting. There was like I said, the Millender fight, and then the big Hall knockout, where he was getting beat pretty badly. I mean, he was getting beat to the punch nonstop, and then he finally landed a huge one that put Lewis out cold. Um, as the event moved on, obviously, getting a chance to see a legend like BJ Penn fight alive again is always fun, but
Mm. Yeah.
unfortunately, um, it's getting not as fun. I was at the Yair Rodriguez fight where he took a beating, and then this one he just you know he screwed around with Ryan Hall and got put in a leg lock by a leg lock master, and
Yeah. I mean, that was a really good heel hook. The interesting thing about that is that the way he fell, usually when people do the Imanari roll, they don't roll the way that he rolled to set it up, which is if you watch it, you'll see that when BJ tried to spin out of it, which is the normal reaction to a heel hook, he spun the wrong way and made it worse on his leg. There's actually a really good breakdown. One of my training partners actually just published it today. Uh, it's a YouTube channel, Rolling with Simon, and him and one of the one of the big leg lockers in my academy are in the video. But yeah, it's a really that was really unfortunate for BJ Penn. But like you said, I feel like it's time for him to like. I mean, you don't got to do anything else, dude.
yeah, I mean, I think it's probably getting to the point now where he just wants to end on a win, and I thought Ryan Hall was the guy he could beat. Um, I don't think I don't think Penn athletically can hang with obviously the strikers and the bigger guys in the division, but for some reason I thought this would be a fight he could win. I mean, and then he basically lost the only way he could lose the fight, in my opinion. I mean, I guess he could have lost the decision in some kind of close, boring back and forth stand up, but I don't know. I athletically, he's obviously declined physically, but it seems to me like mentally and the fight IQ. I don't ever like to question BJ Penn, but just seems to me that to lose to a guy the only way he could beat you is doesn't look good. And like you said, it might be time to finally hang it up. I mean, it was probably time to hang it up 5 years ago, but I think he just keeps looking for one final win, and it just doesn't come.
Yeah, it's a young man's game, man. I mean, you gotta. And I mean, I'm gonna contradict myself later in the show, but it's mostly a young man's game. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a young man. It's not necessarily a young man's game if you're older and you just started the game within the last 10 years. But if you're somebody like BJ Penn who's been fighting for 17, 18 years, it catches up with you, and it's more of a toll on the body, and you just it's got to be harder to adapt. If BJ Penn would have picked up the sport at the age of 30, I think he probably would be farther along, uh, at least with catching up to the modern day fighter as he is, kind of getting set in his ways for that decade prior to really the I mean, he came in right when it turned into the Zuffa MMA and became mainstream, but it was still
yeah,
a time when you could still kind of do some styles for style stuff. So, other notes, on the main card, Chad Mendes took a defeat to Alexander Volkanovski and apparently announced his retirement after the fight. He was
yeah.
highly competitive. It was back and forth for the first couple rounds, and then Mendes basically just gassed out and ended up getting knocked out. Um, it was actually got knocked out at the very end of the second round.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I saw it going. I was one of the few people that picked Volkanovski to win. I mean, I know Mendez is an alpha male guy, and they're all known for their athleticism and wrestling and pressure and all that. But like we just talked about with BJ Penn, that's one of those things. Like the sport of MMA, I think probably evolves faster than any other sport. And if you don't update your game, you're just not going to what you've been doing is not always going to work for your whole career.
Well, yeah, the guys learn how to avoid the finish that you used to be able to get, and then it comes down to your gas tank. And Mendes is a strong, buff dude out there. So obviously his he's not known necessarily. He used to go the distance a lot in the WEC and was known for being a boring fighter, a boring wrestler. He's kind of adapted his game and become more exciting, but with the becoming more exciting, he seems to just use more energy, and that catches up with him in the end. Fight, my picks were terrible for all weekend, but they were,
Well, I mean, yeah, it's you and me both, because obviously a lot of the picks that you made, I mean, there's so many upsets with all the events that we watch. I mean, a lot of them, if you look at them all together, there's a lot of upsets.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was an upset. I picked Condit. I thought he had one more win in him, and that turned out to be an absolutely wrong. Michael Chiesa put on a tremendous performance. Finished with a brutal key lock submission I hadn't really seen in a while. I mean, I don't know. You probably know. Obviously, you know it better than I do. But
Yeah,
it was kind of a one armed Kimura, and
yeah.
I can't recall ever seeing one before. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him in, like, if you watch like a lot of the like grappling matches like in Naga and stuff like that. I've seen him there, and you can actually do it both ways. You can do it with the hammerlock this way, and the way that you saw it on that fight that night. I've actually hit this one myself a lot. It's a cool one because a lot of people don't see it coming. You think the guy, a lot of times the guy getting it done doesn't think that they're in anything until it's too late. But yeah, I mean, that's one of those things. It's an old school move too. It's one of those things that's like it's so old school that it's new again.
Is it more common with the gi, or is it either way?
It's either way, especially this one, the one that I like to hit. The gi doesn't matter. The only thing a gi does is add for friction and stuff. But the one that I hit like this, I know the important detail is to wrap the pinky so that the fist stays down like this. But the other way works too, especially if you're trying to drag away the way Condit was. He was trying to drag his butt out, and but I guess Chiesa's been grappling a lot.
Yeah, I mean he's got wins over Iakenta, and I mean he's a damn good fighter. He just I think we kind of forgot about him when Kevin Lee choked him out in that
Yeah,
slightly controversial thing, and
I
one
actually
of those.
had I thought he was gonna win by a submission, but a choke, not that. So that was definitely surprising.
Yeah, that was like I said, that was one where I kind of thought my brain was telling me Chiesa, but my heart was telling me Condit, and I just thought Condit had one more in him. Chiesa coming up an extra weight class, but hell, that might be the best thing that works out for him. I don't know if he's ever going to be a world title contender per se, but he's obviously proven that he can put on a good fight at a couple different weight classes. I'm going to skip the co-main event because that was the highlight, and I'm going to jump to the main event. At least for me, maybe not for the whole
No,
MMA world, but for
I
me.
agree with you. I agree with you
So
100%.
so jump into the main event: John Jones against Alexander Gustafsson. Um, I don't want to come off as a hater because I'm not a huge fan of John Jones. He's one of the greatest fighters that's ever fought. Obviously, these drug issues is something that kind of spoils a little bit for me. I'm not a huge person that's against all the PEDs use as long as it's even across the board. But when there's rules, I kind of definitely bothers me when somebody can't keep up with at least the current rules that they're fighting under. And I've always said only the idiots get tested positive. Everybody else is smart enough to figure out how to get around it. But with that said, put on a good performance, defeated Alexander Gustafsson in the third round of a 5-round title fight. Um, like I said, he does everything really good, but he doesn't do anything that really makes me want to. I don't get super excited watching him fight. There's just other. I don't know what it is. It's just maybe it's just that he grinds guys down. It's that kick to the knee. It's solid everything, but I don't. I don't know. There's just when I watch somebody like show, maybe he's just the excitement's not there just because he dominates so much. I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to be a hater, but um,
No,
he's
you're not the first person I've heard say that. I've heard people say he's just I don't like his fight because he's too good. Which I mean, to me, it doesn't make any sense. But the only thing that if I had to, if my own personal view of it was like I honestly thought that it would have been as challenging as the first time they fought. I didn't think it was gonna go the way that I didn't think it was gonna go the way that he well, interesting though. I didn't think it was gonna go the way that it went. But that strategy I saw twice in the end of the year fights. I saw it in a fight with I'll mention I, I have I gotta check my notes, but his fight and then the fight with somebody else. It'll come to me when I remember it. But yeah, it was a PFL, one of the PFL fights. But yeah, he definitely it's almost he actually said in the post fight press conference that a Gustafsson, where he kind of made him chase him. Like he didn't really try to clash heads with him. And yeah, that was definitely not the way I saw it going. I thought Gustafsson had a chance. I didn't think he would win, but I thought he was going to have the same chance he had. I thought he'd go to decision, especially being Jones' first fight back. I mean, both of them, they've been out for a little over a year with Gustafsson with injury and Jones for his problems. But man, it is what it is. He's back. We'll see for how long. They did test him that Friday. I know he mentioned that too in the press conference. So, I mean, we'll see what happens the Friday before the fight. We'll see what happens if he comes back for something else and he gets stripped. Then we're in the same roller coaster again, and Dana White kills himself like he said he'd do if it happens again.
Yeah, no, I felt I don't know. It appeared to me that the layoff hurt Gustafson more.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just because he's not as good as Jones, but he seemed
He's a
like he was.
dad now. He's a dad now. I think that counts for a lot
It,
when you're
it
an
might
athlete.
it might. He just didn't seem like he was all there, or at least he didn't fight to his full potential that we've seen him in the past. So, with that all said, though, a great win for Jones. He I'm not going to say he didn't avenge his fight because he beat Gustafson the first time too, but he kind of put the critics to made him quiet with as far as how close the first fight was and basically how dominating this one was. I mean, he basically controlled almost every second of the fight. Then that
Yeah,
brings us. We're going to backtrack now to the co-main event, which
that
is
should have been
arguably
the main event.
arguably the highlight of the entire weekend.
Yeah,
Um, Amanda Nunes pulls off the shocker in 51 seconds and knocks out Christina Cyborg. Um, I don't even know what to say. It was amazing. I've gone to hundreds of fights, seen thousands of individual fights live, and I that was I. It's been a few times in my life where I've heard a crowd like that. When
Yeah.
she finished that fight, that crowd went so loud. I mean, it almost blew the top off the forum. It was one of those moments where for me, it was special just to be there to feel a part of that. I went in rooting for Cyborg. I'm not, but
Yeah,
just
me too.
to be a part of that and just to hear the crowd and I mean, it was like it just the explosion. It was what a big fight feel, you know, is all about. And we don't get that as much as we used to. Maybe it's because we're so saturated with fights, we get spoiled with it. But for something like that to happen and to be there was incredible. And I know the people that were there with me felt the same way. Um, can't really say much else about Nunes. I mean, like I said, I was always been a big Cyborg fan, but you got to say, I guess Nunes is the greatest female fighter that we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, she's beaten the people that were in that conversation. She's beaten them.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
and she beat Rousey, she beat Tate, she and then she beat Cyborg. So it's like you
and
can't really, you
she beat
can't.
Duran to me. She's got to win
Yeah.
over Duran to me. She beat Shevchenko. She beat.
I don't like to include her in things.
Yeah, but she beat Shevchenko twice. I mean,
That's UFC 208 conversation.
yeah,
You know,
no, I get that, but
I get butter.
I guess my point is that she's beaten every woman from other than Nico Montano. She's beaten every woman that's held a belt from 125 pounds to 145 pounds. She's
Yeah,
undefeated against every one of them. So, uh, you know, I don't think Holly Holm deserves a title fight, but it feels like that's the only fight that's left that unless you're going to give Cyborg an immediate rematch. And personally, I think it would be time to do Megan Anderson, Cyborg, since that was a fight that's kind of been talked about for a couple years now. And then I guess do Nunes and Holm. But I don't like I said, I'm just blown away by what I saw, and
yeah. I mean, what the
incredible.
thing about the actual fight? I mean, looking at the actual fight, the 51 seconds that it was. I don't. We'd have to ask Cyborg. I don't know if she felt she could walk Nunes down, or what the case was. But I mean, she came in. And she even said her mother called her afterward and asked her, "Why did you walk towards her with your hands down the way that you did?" Because she got clipped a lot. But then when she realized that those punches were doing damage, she kept going for those desperation takedowns, and it was just over for her from then on. But um, I don't know if it's because she took her lightly, or maybe maybe winning so long, you forget what it feels like when you're in danger. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I know she wants an immediate rematch. I don't know if that's the way to go because the win was there's no so clear cut. Maybe, like you said, maybe her and Megan Anderson would be a good fight. I'm trying to think. I'm actually skeptical that the featherweight division sticks around because the bantamweight one is the more popular, longer standing women's one. Featherweight division seem to have troubles coming in. Like you mentioned Durandamy and I mentioned 208. I mean, it could be just me being me and with associating that division with Barclays in Brooklyn, but I wouldn't be surprised if they try to dissolve that division. I mean, well, who do they have there that hasn't already changed weight classes?
Well, there's not many, and
Yeah,
to a couple of your points, for me, I saw the fight basically Cyborg coming after her more aggressive than she probably should have been, and getting hit really hard. And I think her initial reaction was, "I need to get that back. I just got blasted. My ego's a little bit hurt. I'm hurt. I got hit by this other chick. Now it's time for me to lay some wood on her."
yeah.
And she tried to come back with it, and every time she tried to come back, she was just a little bit late and kept getting hit. And it just by the time it was just too much. I think the first time she got injured was probably really the end of the story,
Mhm.
because she lost any kind of strategical way of going about it. I mean, I see people on Twitter, a couple of her boxing people she boxes with, mentioning that she needed to be in there jabbing, using her size, and so
Yeah,
a rematch could be completely different. I mean, she
but
was
there was definitely an odd. There was definitely an odd. I mean, like if you look at her fight with when she fought Holly Holm, who's a really a good striker. She fought her smarter than she fought Nunes. It just seemed weird to me. She just it just seemed. I don't like I said I don't want to. She'd have to say it if it was overconfidence or whatever it was. But there was definitely something that I was just like, you're not being smart here. And by the time she realized it, it was definitely too late.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't disagree. I mean, obviously she fought home totally different,
Yeah,
and fought her smart. I think once she got hit really hard, I think it changed everything. I think it went to I got to get that back instead of I've got 5 rounds to get that back. I need to get that back right now. And when she went to go get that back, she got hit again. And I mean, I think that's how it went down. I think it would be a little bit different in the second fight. At least I would assume so. I would, barring her being just lost at all. I don't see why she would go in there and go into another prison fight. But you know, and then your other point was the division. I think it comes down to what Cyborg does. Honestly, I don't know what Nunes' plan is. I think she's good, probably going to either division, depending on what the UFC decides. It's Cyborg's last. She has one more fight under her contract. If she decides to play the contract out and jump ship to somewhere like Bellator, then I think the weight class is pretty much gone. If Cyborg hangs around for another 3 or 4 years, and they can still filter in a few fights here and there, then I think it changes it. But if Cyborg, I think it kind of goes with Cyborg, because at any point Nunes can really go back down to 135 if she wants. Cyborg can get her 145 belt back. I mean, obviously we got a couple contenders in there, but I think it's fair to say that Cyborg and Nunes are the class of at least women's MMA above 115 pounds, let's say, considering Nunes has beat Shevchenko twice. So that wrapped up UFC. Like I said, just a wild, entertaining card. And then that took us to, what did that take us to? Sunday night, which was the 30th here in the West Coast, and then early morning, New Year's Eve for you. And that's when RIZIN had their event, which ended up finally a late announcement earlier last week to announce the event would be shown on Fight TV. The Mayweather Tension fight would not be shown in North America and Japan. Obviously, that didn't stop people from watching it.
yeah.
But a couple notes. I pulled the 10 to about 7:30 a.m. So about 9 hours of fighting.
Yeah, that's long.
Co-
That's like too much fights.
yeah, the intermission, at 4:30 in the morning, an hour and 45 intermission was
I know.
was painful.
The Johnny Case and what was that guy Johnny Case that he won? He beat what's his name's protege.
Yachi.
Yeah.
Johnny Case was a good fight. Yachi's kind of been one of the faces of RIZIN. He main evented. I don't know if it was their last event. It might have been 2 events ago. One of their smaller events, but he main evented it. He actually lost to one of Vanderlei's proteges. But yeah, Johnny Case looked good. Couple other guys of note. Justin Scoggins lost by a crazy leg scissor choke. I don't know if you saw that or not, but it was like it wasn't a triangle. He modified the triangle into a leg scissor, and then
it's called a TP choke.
TP choke. I see Tapology has it listed as a scissor choke, but I'll obviously go with the expert in you. That's interesting. I mean, I've seen head scissor chokes, actual real head scissor chokes, usually in a couple of women's MMA fights. Kim Couture.
Were they laying down, or was he like?
No, he was like in his guard. He was in a triangle. He had him in a triangle, and then he went. Instead of forming the triangle, he put his legs straight up in the air.
Yeah.
He took his hands, wrapped them behind his legs, and then pulled down.
Legs.
And so TP choke, I guess, is more the actual term for it. So that's cool to know.
There's like 10 names for a lot of moves.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. I mean, Kimura, Americana, Key Lock,
Hammerlock.
Gabby Garcia got a win. She's the free. She's there. Not really gonna say much else.
What about
Crack beat Brandon Halsey. Halsey took the fight late notice. Looked good early, and then was TKO'd.
But obviously, the fight that everybody has been still talking about is Horiguchi and Caldwell. I mean that one was like that one seemed like it was going to go. From what I saw, it looked like it was going to go Caldwell's way until Horiguchi just caught him sleeping with that with head position.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was one of those cases where we saw a little bit the difference between it. We saw the difference between a cage and a ring for sure.
Yeah,
A couple times Caldwell had Horiguchi up against the ropes on the ground, and Horiguchi was able to basically get out of it by not necessarily escape, but somewhat of escape, being able to get out of the ring or having a break or whatever the reason where it was. So that was an issue. The Caldwell looked good, and then looked like he got tired. You know, it was the wrestler in a ring, kind of chasing the guy around, eventually looking forward, and then Horiguchi, who I mean, I thought it was great. I picked Caldwell to win, but
he had like a lot of near submissions from what I saw too. He had that one Kimura that Horiguchi rolled out of. I'm trying to think what else did he have. I mean, obviously he controlled with the takedowns, but
it was basically controlling with the takedowns. It wasn't the most exciting fight. While it wasn't the most exciting fight in general, but you know, it was big for Japan. You know, I talked about my wish was RIZIN taking off, and I don't know if they're going to take off. The ratings aren't over the top good for him, but Horiguchi got a huge win. I mean, you know, he ended up locking on that guillotine choke. You know, kind of a rookie mistake from Caldwell. But it's, you know, that's how he lost to Telemengio in Bellator, his only previous loss.
Ty Miglio.
Ty Miglio. There you go. And you know, it was big. That, you know, Hamasaki, the previous fight before that, won the inaugural strawweight or 105 pounds to the atomweight championship for them. Now she beat Asakura, who's a Japanese fighter who has wins over Reina. But it was two championship title fights. I think it was a bigger win for RIZIN to get a Japanese fighter to win that belt. I know Caldwell has an instant. I don't know if it's instant, but he has a rematch clause. So it looks like Horiguchi will work his way now towards Bellator for a rematch with Caldwell. So, you know, I mean, Horiguchi's just one of those guys that falls under the radar, but is quite simply one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. And I think
they already started doing the promotional stuff. I don't know if you saw Bellator's already trying to hype up that fight.
Yeah, I saw some stuff on Twitter where they had him tagged in some stuff, and Caldwell's been respectful, and I think he, you know, Caldwell's still a young fighter in the grand scheme of it. He was only his 14th fight. I think he needs to become a little bit more dynamic. You know, you can wrestle and beat guys who aren't up to your skill level, but when you meet guys who are at your skill level, I think you eventually fall into a submission or you get caught with that punch. So I think it's just something Caldwell needs to learn from, and maybe take a little bit more risks earlier in the fight when he's got an advantage. And not, you know, but I mean, like I said, Horiguchi now moves to 26-2. He's got tournament championships under his belt. He's now he's the RIZIN bantamweight champion. Is, you know, in UFC he was like 9-1 with his only loss being to DJ Demetrius Johnson. So I mean, I think he's really one of the most underrated guys, and in my opinion, one of the top pound for pound guys in all of MMA. We were actually going to save RIZIN till after we talked PFL, but since we're here, then we, you know, the main event, or the main event was the Caldwell Horiguchi fight, but the exhibition that ended the night for them was Floyd Mayweather and Tenshin Nasukawa. I know that there's been a lot of controversy, people calling it a fix, a work, and I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to offend people, and some people take stuff personally, and I just don't understand necessarily that. I think it's just a disagreement on opinions. I thought the fight was real in a sense that they actually hit each other. I see people claiming that punches didn't land, and Nasukawa was faking being knocked down and all that stuff. And I just don't fall for that nonsense. I can watch a video and see a guy get hit in the head with a punch. I can watch a guy get hit by one of the greatest boxers of all time, who's outweighed by like 20 pounds. I just, you know, people act like we've never seen guys get hit in the back of the head in the temple and all of a sudden go crazy legs.
Yeah.
See it, and
Whatever, man. I as much as I've written about it for MMAnews.com and stuff, I'm just in all honesty, I didn't care about that. For me, after Caldwell Haraguchi, I was done with RIZIN.
Well, yeah, I mean for that event, I guess. But yeah, but I'm just pointing it out. I if anybody's curious about my opinion, not that it matters, I didn't see it as a work, and I know that there's some fighters, professional fighters, and some people I really respect who think it was, but I don't. And that's just where I stand on it. And I'll be happy to have conversations if anybody wants to comment or message me and talk about it on Twitter, or Gmail, or however. But so we're going to leave that right there and move on to the grand finale, at least time wise for the weekend, New Year's Eve night. I know you were there at the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden.
Yes, sir.
For the PFL finals. Gotta say, couple notes, 7 fights, 6 of them were scheduled for 5 rounds. We don't really see that very often. And from the opening bell of the very first fight, I was entertained for the whole night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was hard to I was there covering the event for Front Proof Media, so it was actually hard to I was trying to do something in between. Usually there's a lull between, like, if you followed professional fight leagues season format, there's usually a lull between the Facebook watch fights and then the broadcast card. But the whole thing was a broadcast on NBC Sports and Facebook watch. They actually just put out a press release today. They had like 5 million total viewers if tallying up international broadcasts, the NBC Sports broadcast, and Facebook watch. So a lot of people watched it, which is good for them. And their 2019 season, but yeah, it was the pacing. I have it playing in the background because I knew we were going to do this, so I have the event playing in the background. That's what I keep looking at when we're talking. But one of the pacing seems to match what was there when I was there at the event. They let media in early, and people were packing the house early. I know they had given a lot of tickets away early in the week. If you showed up to weigh-ins and stuff, they're doing ticket giveaways. They did a lot of stuff for vets and stuff like that. The energy in New York City, I got to say, was it was nothing like ever from the events I've covered in New York. There was just this really positive vibe from all the fighters, all the fans. Everybody was really into it. I obviously, because New Year's Eve had something to do with it, but like even the fighters before they fought, they were already talking about coming back for 2019 season, and all of them, even after the fights, just expressed how happy they were treated with the league format and how much they like it and the fairness of it, and there's no politics and all of that stuff. So I mean, with all that going on, obviously the fights were, like you said, that they there was a couple of ones that dragged they went to decision or whatever, but Lewis Taylor obviously made it known he wanted to get out of there early that night, and he opened up the card with his knockout over Abus Magomedov. There was like 10 Magomedovs on this card.
There was 10 Magomedovs on this card, it seemed like. But yeah, Luis Taylor, devastating knockout, 33 seconds in. One of the thing that this promotion allowed was cool to see some older fighters who put in their time, but not necessarily ever gotten really the chance at or fell short at other times for when they had a chance to really make a name for themselves. So to see a guy like Luis Taylor, who I believe is 38 or 39 years old, 39, get a check that is going to really potentially change the way his family's able to live is a pretty damn cool thing. And perhaps something that's way too far overdue for the sport. It shows that if PFL is able to do this, perhaps without naming promotions, sometime maybe there's some other promotions that are holding back on the paychecks.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Kyla Harrison wasn't a tournament fight, not a championship fight. Two-time, I believe, Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
Returned to the cage, coming in 2-0. Just totally manhandled her opponent.
Yeah, she's got contagious energy. I mean, say what you will about the opponent she's getting, but she's 1,000% invested into MMA. And in that fight, I don't know if you guys saw I uploaded on the Blogboard Jungle YouTube channel the media scrum that we did after her open workout, which she taught a judo class and pulled the kids in out and everything. It was pretty cool. But she said that she wants to. She actually said she never really cared like she doesn't want to be known as a judo player. She wants to be on the level of a Chris Cyborg or Amanda Nunes. She actually trains with Amanda Nunes, and she said that she wanted to try to get the KO or TKO on New Year's Eve, and you could tell she tried doing that because arm bars and stuff were that Charneski was giving those up the whole time she was mounted, but you could tell Harrison wasn't trying to do that right away. Obviously, she still went for submission, but she's so hard on herself. Even after the fight, she was just like, "Man, I really wanted a knockout or a TKO." So I think she's I mean I'm on board the Kayla Harrison hype train. I think she's definitely going to start impressing us in 2019 season when they have the division for her.
Well, let me ask you a question because you've seen her fight live and you've been to the weigh-ins and stuff like that. Just to be frank, there's not really a Division 155. There is internationally.
But they're Pro Fight League's making one.
I understand that they're making it, but it's not. I mean, we can say that, but can you name 3 fighters that fight at 155 pounds in the world?
No,
I mean that's my point. I'm not trying to put you on the spot there. I'm just pointing out. I guess my point is, having seen her fight live, pre and post weight cut, can she make 145 pounds?
She said she could. Yeah, somebody asked her that at the post fight press conference, which I'm actually gonna upload when we're done doing this. I'll upload it to the YouTube channel as well. But she said she would cut there if she had to. But the one of the things is PFL's trying to be different than everybody else out there, so that's why they're introducing a women's 155-pound division, because they want to try to not so much answer the weight cutting problems that have been out or so prominent in 2018, but they just want to put the option out there, and hopefully other people will either follow suit or maybe come on board if they don't like where they're at. You know what I mean? And with that being said, they're going to have about the same size roster in 2019, but they did hint at changing the weight classes for that roster. So, which should be either interesting or better, or we'll see what they come up with. The 2019 season is going to start in May. So, yeah, like you said, I don't know any 155ers, but I'm sure there's a lot of featherweights that wouldn't mind keeping an extra 10 pounds on.
Yeah, I don't blame PFL for doing it. I guess kind of a cynical view of it, and it's just cynical, but not to blame PFL. Like I said, would be that they're basically just setting up a tournament for her to win, become the champion, and use her to promote the organization, which is fine. Don't. I mean, it's fine. I just don't think you're going to find anybody.
You don't think Abby Garcia could make 155?
No, I don't think she can make 195. But with that, but with all that said, now if I'm somebody like Cyborg and I've got one more fight left on my UFC contract, now she gets paid good money, so maybe the $1 million doesn't jump at her. But if you finish out your UFC contract and they're screwing around with you on your negotiations, maybe you sign with PFL for the rest of the year and enter that tournament. That I don't know, and obviously that would make it interesting. I just feel like, I guess it doesn't matter whether she cuts to 145. The bottom line is there's not a lot of available 145-pound women, the outside of Bellator and the UFC. Clearly, since the UFC doesn't really have any, it's kind of a no man's land or no woman's land weight class. But I don't blame, like I said, I don't blame PFL for taking advantage of having a charismatic person that they can market the hell out of, whether it's 45, 55, 65, 75 pound, whatever weight class they ever decide to do or end up doing or whatever. I can't blame them for going that route. moving on then to the other championship fights on the card. The fight that I kind of was probably looking forward to the most. I've always kind of been fascinated by Vinny Magalhaes
Yeah.
from his days from the Ultimate Fighter and M1 when he was the M1 champion. And anybody who's really watched him fight kind of knows that he's probably as dangerous as it can be early in the fight, but as the fight wears on, he's another guy who's really bulky, big, strong guy, and it seems like that eventually catches up to him, and his gas tank has always been an issue outside of about the middle of the second round.
And if you see I actually uploaded that interview with Sean O'Connell from the Open Workouts where I spoke to him, and he said that he didn't, even though he didn't want to give away his game plan, he mentioned that he thought that's where he could win, and obviously that's where he pulled off a win. The funny thing about Vinny Magalhaes, though, is for the and O'Connell commented on it too after the fight, is for the guy that said he doesn't like leg locks and says they don't work, he kept going for them in that fight. I mean, I know it's because he kept getting put on, knocked down. O'Connell tagged him up. Thank God his corner stopped that fight. But I'm pretty sure if I remember the odds, I think Magalhaes was a favorite because of the way he had done all season. So I thought O'Connell was going to get his arm, bent the other way, but obviously, that's not what happened. And and not only did he retire, I mean, did he get the $1 million in the belt, but he's retired, which is, the way you want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, another guy like Luis Taylor, who, O'Connell fought in the UFC, had a couple, I think, fight of the nights, maybe knockout of the night performances. But, I thought Vinny was going to win the fight. I thought he would grab him early on. And basically it's what happened. But O'Connell stayed composed and like you said, Vinny kept going for the leg locks early, and
yeah. Well, that's the thing. He didn't really get grabby. O'Connell never really gave him the chance, which is pretty much what he hinted at when I talked to him. So watching the fight, it was weird because it looked like they tried to just throw hands against each other, and obviously that's O'Connell's world. I don't know why Magalhaes tried to play that game, but it looked like when he realized that he wanted to try to do anything submission wise, it was definitely too late, too sweaty, and he was really gassed. He took a lot of damage, but hey, it is what it is, man. That was one of the for me, that was one of the two upsets from that card of that night.
Yeah, I mean, and it was a fun fight because obviously when you have a submission master, at any point, I found myself yelling at O'Connell, don't go into his guard. There was some times where he almost, he did once.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But he, you're just kind of going, dude, you win this fight. You could stand there and start, dancing around, and you're gonna win the fight. You don't have to do anything. You've already won on the cards. You could run around the ring for, run circles, and you're gonna win the fight. So when he would put himself in the chance of being in danger, I found myself actually yelling at the TV, rooting for him to stay away.
I mean, when you're sitting in media row, you have to kind of keep yourself calm. But even there's a couple of points where Magalhaes kind of got control of the one wet leg early in the fight, and I actually thought he might have twisted up his leg a little bit in the attempt of getting the submission. But I mean, he trained with Jeremy Horn for his jiu-jitsu and grappling, and it looked like it paid off. Obviously, with the way he was able to avoid, and then he, later in the fight, he played it smart. Every time they went down, he did the right thing. Which a lot of times you find yourself when you're watching fights, I'll never get why guys jump in the guards of guys that are really really good submission guys. Like if you're up and you're on top, walk away. You're winning. What you put him on his ass when you're standing, walk away from him and keep doing that. Like just wash, rinse, repeat. And that's what O'Connell did. So I was really happy to see that he didn't really as much as I always kind of want a jiu-jitsu guy to win. I like seeing a guy be smart like that too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He ended up staying out of danger and getting the corner stoppage win. I think Vinny should go. I think Vinny's a perfect guy for RIZIN.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see maybe that go on. Um, the heavyweight final, Felipe Lins finished Josh Copeland, really in just a one-sided beatdown.
Poor Josh Copeland, man. I mean, it's such a nice guy. I felt bad watching him after talking to him. I put that video up on the YouTube channel too. I mean, he's got such a positive outlook, and he just wants to do like good things for folks and stuff. So to see him take the beating like that, but that's his fighting style, though.
Yeah,
Actually, somebody I forget who it was that was in media row asked me. They're like, is he putting his head forward to catch the punch with the hard part of his head? And I was like, yeah. He was like, "Why is he doing that?" And I was like, "That's an old school. You're hoping to hurt the guy's hand or make him break his hand or something, but it doesn't look good on the when they're counting significant strikes and stuff. It's kind of working against you."
yeah, yeah. No, perhaps the corner should have thrown in the towel or stopped that fight around earlier, when it became evident that he couldn't hold his hands up and his
Yeah.
face was going to become his defense. Then that put us to the main event, where it was probably the upset of the night. I would never bet against a double Megomed, but Megomed Karimov finished with a guillotine choke Ray Cooper the third. Cooper kind of been the poster boy of this season of PFL. Couple devastating finishes of Jake Shields, but I don't want to say that I think Cooper's a good fighter. I just think that
He is.
we
Yeah.
we entered a world now where some of these Dagestani guys are just damn grinders and have so many ways they can beat you.
Yeah. Well, that's the fight that I was going to say that I actually when I was watching it, it made me think of the Jones Gustafsson fight, and the thing that Magomed did was he didn't engage Cooper. He didn't try to take him head on the way Shields did, and I forget was it Zeffirino that he finished with the I forget he didn't I forget the other guy he finished, but Cooper was charging everybody and taking him down and pounding him away, and Magomed did. It looked like he just said to himself, "Let me not do that. Let me step back away from this guy and see what happens." And I mean, obviously he still got taken down and stuff, but he played a more relaxed game against him, and I thought that was as I was watching the fight, I was like, wow, this is kind of what John Jones did to Gustafsson. As far as the mentality and the behind the strategy of fighting a guy like Cooper. But Cooper was one of those guys that was talking about returning for a 2019 season and even coming in at middleweight because he is a big dude muscle wise. Obviously, he's got a lot of mass for 170. But he had hinted at coming back for heavier. A lot of the guys wanted to come back just because they like the professionalism of a league format, how there's no politics or anything, and it helps that they get to bring in their own sponsors too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know exactly where he would go from here. I think that's probably a good promotion for him. He can come back now. He made the finals. Now he can come back and get a little redemption and try to get the championship. So yeah, I don't know, but overall, I thought it was a really fun weekend of fights. Like I said, a little bit of controversy here and there, but for the most part, it was great and it was fun. It's nice having that much action around New Year's.
Hey man, I think what the coolest thing for me as far as this podcast goes was that you got to go to an event on the West Coast, and I got to go to one here on the East Coast and cover it for obviously. I mean, I know you went as a fan, you bought tickets, but I got to cover the PFL thing, but we still were had boots on the ground at two events for this podcast thing that we started last year, Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour, and it was pretty cool that we can occupy both coasts and smash the fights together like this.
No, I mean it's great, and hopefully that continues into 2019, where we get more and more events, at least bigger events for both of us to do, and whether it's you covering them or me going as a fan, or when I decide to cover events, it's fun, man. It's fun. It's great talking about them, and I look forward to this coming year. I know I got a busy first quarter. I got the Fedor fight in a couple weeks, the Fedor Bader Bellator event.
Yeah,
I
and
actually booked.
Brooklyn is the 19th. January 19th is UFC Brooklyn.
There you go.
The ESPN card.
Yep. The 19th, and then I'm going to that's the ESPN Plus card. Actually got tickets today for the first ESPN card in Phoenix, so I'm going to the Phoenix. I know it's stupid as hell to buy tickets for a Cain Velasquez fight, but I did it. Get a chance to go watch him Nagano hopefully in Phoenix. So that'll be on February 18th or 17th, Sunday night, and then I got tickets for the Bellator event. The Koreshkov Larkin fight coming up at the end of March. So we definitely have some live coverage going on.
Yeah.
And that's just planned out right now, and I'm sure a bunch of other stuff will pop up. So
yeah, no, Bellator's coming to the East Coast in February. They got the back-to-back nights that they announced, the 15th and 16th. And then I'm trying to think what obviously UFC's ESPN card in Brooklyn with Greg Hardy. Everyone's pissed off at Greg Hardy being on that card along with Rachel Ostovich and Paige Van Zandt. And they took the flyweight. Cejudo Dillashaw is going to be the main event on that one too. So I'm hoping that one's a good one. I'm most likely going to be there for I'll probably go with Jeff to watch it since it's in his backyard technically. I actually just got my UFC denial for that event today, so thank you UFC once again for overlooking your boy here on the East Coast. But there's a lot of stuff coming up, and like I said, I know PFL already said they're gonna start their 2019 season in May, so I'm wondering if that means they're gonna end in November instead of December, but we'll see. That's still way ahead.
Yeah, it should be a fun year, and hopefully this podcast continues to grow. I want to thank everybody for listening. As usual, they can follow us at Combat Hour on Twitter, myself at MMA Hawk 21 on Instagram and Twitter. You can follow Ed on Twitter at Carbazol and at Carbeerzol on Instagram. I'm sure we'll be back hopefully next Tuesday night again with a show. Looking forward to possibly the Brooklyn card. Got to get our bearings back after this end of the year, but look forward to talking to you again, Ed, and have a good rest of the week.
Yes, make sure you subscribe, listen, support, iTunes, and all that nonsense. We will be back.